to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
Don't mistake my kindness for blindness.
And Dale Hummel.
Integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
It is a eventful week, Ryan, on the world stage, I should say. Maybe not so much here in Gabriel, Illinois, but on the world stage.
I'm busy. I'm just telling you.
You're not involved in the Ukraine of everything.
No, but okay, I just have to bring this up again, and I know that I'll get hate mail, and I don't care because I get it every day, so it doesn't bother me. But I think the president of Ukraine is putting up a valiant effort. All this is very inspiring. They are making this man out to be like the hero of the century. This man is a corrupt individual.
Now, I did a little bit of research on that, and he ran on the platform of cleaning up the corruption.
Uh-huh.
I do not know that he did, but that was the perception that I was getting.
Okay, well, anyway.
I don't know that. I don't even know how long he's been in office.
Anyhow.
Not long. I respect what he's doing right now.
I agree with that. I said that, but all the other has just been completely erased.
But I'm not sure he was the corrupt one. I think that was his predecessor. I don't know this. I'm speaking off of just very limited knowledge base on that one. Maybe I'm hoping that he wasn't. How's that? Does that count?
That's more like it. But anyway.
It's possible. I do those things on occasion.
The other part of this, because nothing has changed in Ukraine. They're still at war. Putin's still blowing stuff up, whatever. I mean, they've changed positions and whatever, but nothing has changed. No one is winning. No one is losing.
I think there's a perception change again this week.
There's a perception change.
We're coming out worse. When the video came out of the Russians in the suburbs there, just outside of Kyiv, I believe, that laying in the street where their hands were bound behind their back and executed, and people laying in the street dead,
yes,
basically,
I saw that video.
With the bicycle, like they're riding their bike down the street and they were shot. Those are pretty touching videos. I mean, this is happening, but when
touching?
You have...
I don't think touching was the right word.
I mean, emotional. You're going to get attached to it, and it's gonna resonate with people. And I think not that we were getting numb to the war, not that people were thinking, oh, Putin's going to be okay. He's an evil, terrible person, and I think we all knew that. But over time, you start to it's not in front of you all the time. You start to forget about it a little bit. When pictures like that come out, what person could go down that street and execute civilians in that manner? That's taking things to even another level. I mean, you're already killing people. I get it. But the fact that we have video of that and what they're doing, I think it even brings more attention to how terrible he is, and hopefully continues to isolate Russia more and more from the West.
Okay, maybe from a perception standpoint, you may be right. More people are in uproar and outraged over Putin, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know that the mechanics have changed.
Nothing has changed in the war.
I think Putin's running out of his supply chain isn't as strong as it would, so he is having to pull back. I don't think
you are just like all these other people that watch the news. You just believe what you want to believe and do not take any facts.
Well, I'm not. I don't know that he's retreating. I think he's pulling back because he doesn't have the supply. I don't know, but I think about the value, and Chase and I have talked about this. Ryan, do you realize, to me right now in today's war, the Ukraine war, the value of an armored tank is about zero.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense? I understand back in World War I and II when it was harder to blow up a tank, but we've got things you set on your shoulder, whatever you want to call them, shoot the tank, and they're almost like sitting ducks. So there's a lot of miscalculations in this whole situation. I don't know how it's going to end. I hope that if Ukraine continues to hold them off, that Putin doesn't get stupid and do anything from a biological or nuclear standpoint. I hope he's smart enough not to, but I just don't know.
Back to what I was saying. There is no change in the war. Nothing.
So what happens
changed.
if the war? What happens if the war ends in a few months or whenever? Let's just say it's going to end at some point. Okay,
It is going to end at some point. There's going to be an end. It's not going to go on forever. It may go on for a year. It may go on for multiple years. I don't know, but it may go on 2 more days. But anyhow, it depends on who wins.
And I don't know if there will be a winner at this point. Let's say it's
to be
over.
a winner. There is a winner in every war. There is no draw.
I
There is
don't
not
know.
a draw.
I think he totally flattens.
Have you read any history in your life, sir?
If he flattens Ukraine, takes out everything, and then pulls back into Russia, I guess he wins, but he gets really nothing. Okay, with our society the way it is, we're such on a quick news cycle. Let's say it's over in a year. What happens 5 years later? Do we start doing business with Russia again, and we just kind of go about things like they were prior to?
I think that your 5-year plan is way, way, way out there. I think they will be back in business getting oil from Russia very much quicker after the war.
This is not what I wanted you to tell me. This is not the answer I was looking for.
Okay, have you met the administration?
We're in a Cold War. We will be, or we're setting up, if we're not already in a Cold War with Russia and China. Basically the West against Russia and China. And when I say Cold War, we're going to have to beef up our defense on every level, and we need to isolate China and Russia from an economic standpoint from the rest of the world as best we can. The problem is, as we're picking sides, China and Russia looks like they have India. Obviously, they have North Korea. They have Iran. We hope they don't get very many more, or all of a sudden they have a cohesive enough unit they can survive without the West. And that is a terrible place for us to be.
Okay.
It doesn't even concern you.
I don't know what you want me to say because I don't think what you want to happen is going to happen.
As long as Putin is in charge and Russia is behaving like they are, I don't think we should ever do business with them again. I think we should wake our ass up and realize that China's 50-year plan to be the leading world power, which they are on track to do such, that if we don't wake up and start bringing manufacturing back to our country, especially on the key manufacturing points, pharmaceuticals, the tech world, those things that we just can't even function without, and then later bring some of the other manufacturing back where we're no longer reliant on China, if we could isolate that, and I've talked about this so many times, I hear people talking about it at least a little bit on the news, and primarily Fox, obviously not the others. But at least it's starting to come up. And I think if we take over the Senate and we take over the House, and then in 2024 we have a Republican in the office, I think we will isolate ourselves and completely shut down trade with China to whatever level we can. Now, I'm not saying we can do it overnight. Allow ourselves to build the manufacturing, the infrastructure we need to eventually pull completely away from them. Use them as long as we have to, but the moment we don't have to, walk away from it.
Okay, are you done now?
We should have never brought them into the World Trade Organization in the 90s. That was the biggest mistake ever made.
Lord
ever.
Help me.
All they've done
Baby
is use that
Jesus.
economic benefit to decide to take over the world.
We're moving
I'm not a
on
fan.
because you were in Never Never Land. So Hunter Biden's laptop. Let me tell you about Hunter Biden and his laptop.
The ones that have been around forever.
17 months. 17 months.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, so
The
Now-
Russian collusion ones.
no, this is no longer Russian disinformation.
Oh.
This is actually Hunter's laptop. This is all his stuff on it. With all
It's
the
really
news.
his.
And even CNN is said that this is not looking well. But so what I think, and this was kind of confirmed today by Jesse Waters and Greg Gutfeld.
So it has to be true.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, I like the fact
I'm
that
in. Jesse's pretty good.
Yeah. What's going to happen is, obviously, the Republicans are probably going to take at least one of the houses, if not both of the houses. Right now, it's looking very strong, both of the houses, in the midterm elections. And then Hunter is screwed. But the Democrats are not, going to block all this or, put up a big fight because they know that Biden's either not going to run or not going to get reelected. So they're going to let this hurry up and let indict Hunter and all this other stuff so Daddy Joe can pardon him before he leaves office.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. I hope that they'd be smart enough to drag that out just a little bit. But I mean, they talk about 10% to the big guy. Remember that little statement?
Now,
in one
see,
of those
that
emails?
is the one thing, that all of the stuff that has come through in these investigation, all the other stuff, everything has been verified other than the things that refer to the big guy. They still can't verify
Because what is difficult about verifying that? I'm
not
confused.
sure, since it's all on the same laptop, same email, whatever, but they can't verify that yet, because then, Joe would be hung too. So, but basically, they're going to let Hunter hang, and Daddy's going to pardon him. The other thing that I found...
How can Hunter hang and it not be tied to his father?
Well, dude, I am just because Hunter is the one that sent the emails, all that. They're going to say that Joe had no idea.
Okay.
You don't get that? Like,
I'm not buying into it at all.
I'm not buying into it either, but it's called plausible deniability. Do you not know what that is, sir?
I've heard about it, but I do not believe it applies in this situation. He was on Air Force 1 or 2 or 3 with Joe when he went to China to make some of these deals. He was aware.
He was on Air Force 2.
Yeah. He was aware.
I'm just telling you what is going down. Now, you can get all whatever and all this other stuff, but that's what it is. What I think is the biggest travesty is not that Hunter will get pardoned and that it took them 17 months for them to, say that this is actually a real Hunter Biden laptop and all that. So Hunter is holed up in a Malibu mansion home right now, renting one, okay? And he's paying more than $30,000 a month to rent this home, by the way.
And he's gainfully employed, I assume?
I'm not sure, but...
The answer is no. He does not have a job.
Well, anyway, here's the real kicker. The Secret Service has now having to rent a property over there in the Malibu Mansion territory so it can be as close to Hunter to protect him.
From himself.
Yeah.
It is astonishing to me. Absolutely crazy.
And they won't even release a figure on what that property that the Secret Service is having to rent to be where they can, have access to little Hunter. Yeah, that is the bigger bullshit of it all.
That is. What about the Supreme Court lady?
What
I don't even know her name. I probably couldn't pronounce it if I tried.
Well, what would you like to know about the Supreme Court lady?
She's crazy. She cannot define what a female is.
No, she can't. You're right. She cannot.
Because she's not a biologist. Was that her response?
Yes, that is correct.
I'm out.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but the lady's name is Ketanji, and I may mispronounce that, Brown Jackson. And anyway, they voted on committee today, and it was tied 11-11 because one of the Democrats couldn't, somebody got deathly sick on the plane, and they had to revert it back and whatever. So it's tied 11-11. They voted to move it out of committee anyway, and the vote to get it from the committee, even though it was deadlocked, to the floor, a lot of people showed their cards, and Susan Collins and one other Republican, I can't remember the woman is Susan Collins from Maine?
I don't know.
The Maine and the Alaska lady.
Yeah, not Sarah Palin, by the way.
No, not Sarah Palin. She's running for Congress,
she
not
is,
Senate.
And she's going to get elected, too.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. But anyway, that's another subject. But anyway, the senator that we always have problems with if you're a Republican, Collins, and I can't remember the other one, but anyway, they're from Maine and Alaska. They both voted to move it out of committee, even though it was deadlocked tie. So they are throwing their support behind Miss Jackson Brown, or Brown Jackson, or whatever her name is. And so she's going to be a Supreme Court justice.
And her record is not very impressive on several issues.
No, it's not good, but she's going to be one.
Yeah, no, I agree. She's going to.
I still say, since she can't define what a woman is, why is it so important that Biden nominated a black woman, since she obviously doesn't know if she is one or not? But
perfect. I'm with you. I'll take that one.
I said that last week, and, I stand behind that. But the Grammys, we didn't have anybody hit anybody at the Grammys. That was nice.
No, I heard that.
Very violence-free.
Much less on the world stage.
Your Ukraine president came on and talked to people during the Grammys.
I heard that was popular.
Yeah, that was the highlight.
Elon Musk of things. You hear he bought 9.2% of Twitter?
And what does he need with... I mean, I'm assuming that's controlling interest of the company, but...
Well, not technically controlling interest, but the largest shareholder. So I do believe he's going to have a say in some things. You remember how outspoken he was about how restrictive they were? I have a feeling there's changes to come with Twitter.
Oh, my.
And you know what Elon did for me today?
What?
He sent me a personal email.
He did.
He did. I am getting Starlink equipment shipped to my home as we speak. That takes me from, remember we talked about the generator going out on my internet and all the problems that I have with my internet? Starlink is going to fix it all. I will have the same internet that Ukraine has.
Oh, that's lovely because it's doing them worlds of good right now.
It's saving their ass right now.
I know. I'm being serious.
Yes. No, I'm a big fan. Huge fan. Excited about it. Actually, cheaper than what I'm paying right now.
That is lovely.
And I enjoy saving money. That is a very positive thing.
Do you have any other current events?
No, I think we're probably good on the current events side of things.
It's all the same shit as last week, except nobody got bitch slapped.
Unfortunately, it's still a shit show in the world, and it's bad.
Oh, I do have one other thing, and so I'm gonna put this out there because I think True Social sucks. You're on. To be real honest, yeah, I'm on, and I don't know how to look up people. I don't know. I mean, I can't post.
I think it's going to take a little while to develop.
A little while. It's been out there. It's Trump needs to start over because it sucks.
No, don't say this.
It sucks.
Do not. No.
No.
You have to be wrong.
No. Okay. Then when you get on it, then you let me know if you can find people because I can't.
Well, maybe they're not on yet.
I can't find a way to find anyone, Dale. Anyone?
Nobody. Are you so you're not following anybody? Zero.
Oh no, people following me and whatever, and I follow back and whatever. Yeah, but I mean, we're talking 73 people. But I mean, yeah, no.
It's got to start somewhere.
Okay.
This is our only hope here, pal. It isn't. He's not going to start over. I suggest we embrace it.
Okay, whatever.
That's where I would like to be. In the current events of the livestock world, online sales are in full swing. Pope Joy Livestock Transportation is answering the demand. Stephen's making trips from the Midwest to the East and West Coast with the ability to drop off or pick up en route either direction. Pope Joy Livestock Transportation can be found on their Facebook page with all the contact information. Please touch base and you will not be disappointed. We also have Mr. Boxel. I believe he is still Facebook jail free at the moment. He's cranking out show boxes, blowers. Yes, and the latest creation, the Boxel Chiller. Thank you both, Pope Joy Livestock, Boxel Manufacturing, for your support of this episode.
You just love those people.
I appreciate their contribution to allow us to continue to send money to our producer.
Okay, so I have a BTRJLA sponsor, and they've been a sponsor for a while, and I'm not sure why it's taken this long. I think they wanted me to put off or something. I don't know, but anyway. So one of our national award sponsors is Crown Stone Equipment, and we are very excited to have them. Like I said, they've been announced on social media for quite a while. I'm assuming that they wanted me to hold off on putting them on the bio, or maybe I slipped up. So if I did, Crown Stone, I'm sorry, but you're going to get your 2 podcast spots. But anyway, Crown Stone Equipment is a huge equipment company. If you're looking for construction, agricultural, landscaping equipment, they have you covered with brands like Bobcat, Toro, Exmark, Steel, Echo, and more. From purchasing to renting, parts to service, Crown Stone Equipment is a rock-solid customer service and is one of your one-stop shop for all equipment needs. They have 5 locations in Adams County, Frederick, Hagerstown, Lancaster, York, and a 6th one in Reading, or Reading, I don't know. I don't know how you say that because I'm not from up there. On the way. So anyway, huge shout out to Crown Stone Equipment for being a national award sponsor for the BTRJLA, and we greatly appreciate it.
Is it time for your main topic?
No, because I have to read a top 10.
I'm going to read a top 10.
The most important part.
I have a top 10.
No, you have the top 10 that I gave you that is the top 10. I'm talking about a BTRJLA top 10. Oh. This was my. I'm not even. I will deal with you in a minute. Anyway,
don't pretend.
Don't pretend. This was my idea. I came up with it this week.
Oh my! Go on.
It wasn't my idea.
First. Go on with your top 10.
Yeah,
first.
You notice he just backtracked off that. Mm-hmm. You like Jen Psaki, just whatever.
Keep going.
Anyhow, top 10 nationwide senior hog. I know we've done some hogs. I don't know. I'm trying to
Arizona, Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana.
Would you quit being so negative? You're just so negative.
It's pretty Southern dominated.
No, you're wrong. This is actually the most diverse top 10 of any that we've read so far.
Excellent,
thank you.
Excellent. Warm weather's coming to the north.
Anyway, top 10 senior hog. And again, I just randomly pick ones and I do appreciate the people saying thank you for reading our kid's name. It was highlighted their week. So we're going to continue to do this, even though Mr. Negative Nelly on the other side of the microphone here is being a little bitch about it. But top 10 Senior Hog nationwide. Again, if I mess up your name, I'm sorry. Number 1, Caden Bryant of Glenwood, Arkansas. Number 2 is Emily Hemphill of Ohio. Number 3 is Jamie Hovland of Nebraska. Number 4 is Wyatt Collard. Number 5 is Cole Baker. Number 6 is Mari Horworth. Number 7 is Kaylin Byram. Number 8 is Caitlin Dutton. Number 9 is Evan Freed. And number 10 is Lauren Lynn.
Congratulations to all 10.
Yeah, right now. That's there. And also on BTRJLA, like, we're getting so many show results in, like, tons. So there will be an update again this week because, like, so many shows. And people, if you haven't joined, just go on and do it. Because in April and May alone, like, we just started, like, last week's first week of April. In April and May alone, and we still get sanctioning contracts in every single day, like 4 or 5. We have nearly almost 200 shows in April and May alone. And you can only count your top 10. And we're only in April, and this doesn't end until December 31st. So go on, sign your kid up, get on the calendar, find you some shows, and get with it.
Sounds like a great plan. For Ryan's topic that we'll talk about that he came up with this week.
Yes, thank you.
And Ryan, you're going to have to take, if you don't mind, the first one, and then I'll go from there for reasons we can discuss later. But top 10 things you do at a show.
That's right.
What is your number one thing to do at the show, or listed as number one?
I think we need to go 10 up, sir.
I don't care what order we do it. We just, once we get to one, you have to read that one.
Okay, well, see, that's because you screwed my top 10 list up. Like, your one is actually 10. But anyway, so because
we can go 10, 9, 8. That's fine.
Because the number one goes last. Have you never heard a top 10 list read out, sir?
Yeah, but I just listened to your top 10 in the
I meant on the Tonight Show, the David Letterman show.
Oh, God. Yeah. I thought you were talking about yourself.
No. So, anyway, 10, and I will
Which is a very important one. Huge.
I will take this one since your wife is going to kill me. But anyways, secure a source of electricity. And I am going to say that if it's not a major show, just if you're going to go to more than just the county fair or the state fair, if you're going to go to like several shows a year, just buy a generator now. Just buy one. Just put it in your trailer. You may never have to take it out. Leave it in there. And that way, if you get somewhere and there are no electricity, breakers, tripping, whatever, you are there. So when I say secure a source of electricity, I say buy your ass a generator, put it in the trailer, and take it with you. That is what I am saying.
I look at it a little differently. Sometimes when we're in, and I'm just referring to most of the national shows, when we're housed inside and the pig and the goat and the sheep world, sometimes we can't have access to a generator. Obviously, in the cattle barns, it almost has to happen because they just don't have enough circuit power to cover it. You have long enough
extension cords, you can get a generator.
I'm going to think like at Kansas City up on that second floor, it's near impossible to
dangle
access
the shit
a generator.
Out a window.
Yeah. So my source of electricity would be in a manner of securing those outlets and making sure your stalling or wherever you're setting your fitting area up has access to them, because it's a challenge. There's never enough, period. There just isn't. I have nightmares about those things.
At Kansas City, Louisville, there's probably adequate power for everyone, so I don't think it's quite as big a deal there, but there's a lot, even junior nationals and stuff like that. It's just better to have a generator. I agree with Dale. Once you get there, it is much easier if there is enough electricity for everyone to just stake your little claim to the ones by your stalls and move on, but I'd still have a generator. That's just me.
And I can use this year, like at Kansas City and Louisville, for an example. Kansas City, for the most part, you can get by if people aren't kind of hoarding them a little bit. But at Louisville this year, they had some issues with organization and getting animals out and pens cleaned up and set up. They brought some heavy equipment in there, and they have the cords coming out of the flooring. And I don't think they pulled all the cords up, and this heavy equipment just sheared the cords off where they were very limited. And you have to have a certain adapter to plug in down into the floor to access the electricity. So it was a problem this year. There's very minimal. So it is something that we always need to worry about. Number 9, adequate bedding. And I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit further, preferably the same bedding that the animal's used to at home, so we don't have any type of stupid reaction. I'm a huge fan. Let's not try to change any more than we have to. Obviously, we're putting them in a trailer and hauling them across the country or wherever we're going. Let's keep as much of the same as we possibly can. And I know you can buy bedding at most of the shows, and some require you to do so. But if you're allowed to bring bedding in from home, why would you not want to bring exactly what they're on at home?
Oh, yeah, very valid point. I think that it's probably a little more difficult for cattle people. Like, I'll just be honest, at our barn at home, we have cedar. And taking cedar fiber to every jackpot show in America is probably not practical.
Probably not, but I would probably do it.
You would also go to like 2 shows a year. But anyway.
But no, sometimes it's not realistic.
When I think of adequate bedding, there's a bunch of exposition centers, etc., that only allow you to purchase bedding from them. You can't bring in outside bedding. And so if that is the case, and what is happening at shows, just make sure that like you get enough for however many heads you have, so that you can pack it down and they don't dig down to the concrete, regardless if it's a pig or a calf or whatever. And I see this all the time, that if you're there for multiple, even if it's just a weekend show, you get there Friday, you think you're good. By the time Saturday, midday, afternoon, they've already dug down in the concrete and you've got to redo it all. You will save more money if you do it right the first time than trying to skimp like Dale with.
No. That's important. Those things have to happen.
Nothing else about adequate bedding for you, sir?
I think that's. I hope it's self-explanatory enough, but I can assure you that if it's a several day show that you move in on a Wednesday and maybe you don't show until Friday or Saturday, you can walk through the pins and they're getting pretty bad by the time it's show day, and we need to keep that up as best we can. It's just absolute simple logic.
Number 8 was not on my top 10 list I sent you, so this is all you, because I
would like to take number 8 if you don't mind.
You go right ahead, because I don't even think this belongs on
so
there.
So this one's critical, and I when I'm visiting with families that we work with, and I don't see this happen, is why I put it on there, and maybe it's not as important as I think, but I have it as an absolute. When you've taken those animals away from home, and some have been out on the road a lot and they're acclimated and it's fine. Others maybe not so much. But when you take them away from home and take them to that show and you get your pins and you get those animals in the pins, I don't necessarily want to get, if it's lambs or goats up on the stand or pigs, get them out and whatever we can do of any species. If we can get them in that stall and or pin, I would like nothing better than for them to lay down and rest for as long as they can and just leave them alone. Let's let them catch up on some rest, acclimate to that new setting. And I'm convinced a lot of times, especially when it's the first or second show these animals are going to, they're up for an extremely long period of time because they're a little bit stressed and they just don't want to sleep. They're not going to perform. They're not going to act as well as they could, just like a person without getting sleep. So when we get into the barn, not only do I get those animals or instruct my families to get those animals in pins or my kids to do that, and then I almost insist on them staying away from the pins. Let's not camp out right in front of them and be loud and stupid where those animals aren't allowed to lay down and get some sleep. I'm going to confess to this, and some may have noticed this happens on occasion. If it's possible, and we don't have to worry about unethical things happening, which is always an issue, I would prefer to turn those lights out at night. If we're at a show and it's capable of letting those lights go out, I see no reason to not turn them out, at least from whenever people are done in the barn for the most part. And sometimes they're working all night and it just can't happen. But if it can happen, shut the lights off, let those animals get some sleep until morning. Huge on it.
Then my cameras that I have on my animals will not record. It will be black.
We have night cameras.
That costs more.
Hardly, not much more. They're very accessible now, very reasonable.
This was not on my list because I was talking about things that the people need to do at the show, but I agree that the animals need to rest as much as possible. I don't see this not happen a whole lot of times, so maybe that's why that didn't make my list, but I just paid attention
I
to
see people just staying. I have to run people off away from my pins. Say, hey, get away from
Yes, but sir, you and I both do that, but I'm saying I don't see, like, I didn't talk to you about your stupid list that you reworked mine anyway, and you said allow your animals to rest as well. Like, I felt like you were talking about that people leave them on the trailers too long or leave them outside or standing up or whatever.
No. Just let them sleep. Let them chill out when you get them there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to take the next one, even though I love
No, because I put this one in for you. And on my list, this was number 2 because I thought this was so important. And you backed it all the way down. So,
well, no, I tried to do it in the order. It's actually backwards now, in the order that you'd have to do it once you got there, is what I was trying to do. So we as people can figure out, we don't discuss this a whole lot prior to jumping on here.
No, Dale should just do what I tell him to do. And
it'll all go so much better, wouldn't it?
That's right.
So number 7, hydrate. I see this all the time, unfortunately. And for some reason, if we need to pull a belly up or anything like that, too many people are still restricting water to try to get this done. I understand if we're fighting a way back or something like that, but I promise you, the more fluids we can keep in those animals, the better they're going to look. Muscle is 80% water, people. Let's make sure that we have access to water. There are situations that we're going to restrict water to a certain degree, but for the most part, we need to do the opposite. And I'm going to be a huge fan of pushing water. And if we need to, if we're not allowed to drench and things like that, I would encourage bringing water from home. If you see me show up at a show, Ryan, how many 5-gallon buckets would I have with me?
I don't even want to talk about it because you're insane. But
a lot. And I understand it's hard to do on the cattle side, but on the small animal side, it's not unrealistic to bring all of your water from home if that's going to help keep those animals hydrated.
No, I think that if you can bring water from home, that is a great idea. If you can't, then bring a filter. And everybody can get a filter. They're real inexpensive. And what we've said this before, there's different things that you can use to flavor the water or color the water. And if you use those at home, then that might trick them into thinking it's the same water if you can't take your own water from home. And again, another thing, and I'm just going to say it and like whatever, if it's not against the rules and they're not drinking, drench or pump them. Like, that's just all there is to it. Like, that's what you need to do.
No, it really is that simple. Keep them hydrated is more important from an animal welfare standpoint than any issue I'd have with drenching or pumping from a welfare standpoint.
Completely.
And sometimes animals just aren't going to drink. And even if you bring water from home, sometimes it just, because of stress or whatever, they just aren't going to drink. And some shows do not allow you to drench or pump. Others do. So you follow what the rules are. But if they allow you to and your animal's not drinking, that's a no-brainer. You just need to get that done.
Yeah. So, I mean, we always try to tell you to follow the rules and all that, but I think the big things on this is do what you need to do legally to make sure that your animal is hydrated. Start with trying to bring your own water like Dale does, even though most of us aren't going to do that. Filters, flavoring agents, coloring agents, all those things, and anything you can to keep as much water in that animal where they're hydrated as possible. It's always easier to lose fill than it is to gain fill. I will say that all the time.
And I think this is the number one game changer. If I see one mistake being made more than not, this is the one.
I would agree with that. Like, I don't
think... And it's not hard. It's very, very simple.
I think that people just, if their animal drinks in the morning and drinks at night or whatever, that's good enough. And it's just not. It's got to be more than that.
Agreed.
So, number 6 would be one that I had on my list, and I think it's really important. And I think this needs to be done probably the night before you're actually going to show or first thing the morning of the show. And that's gather, organize, or purchase your fitting supplies. And even if it's a blow and show, make sure you've got oil or whatever it is that you can use. Some shows won't let you use oil, and when you're gathering and organizing them, make sure that there's tops on the cans, and make sure that they're full, and not that there's one that's just got 2 squirts in it and you're done. And you know how many you have there. You have it. If you don't know how much you need, ask whoever's going to help you get them ready and get them dressed. Hey, this is what we got. What else do we need? Go to the show supply dealer there and purchase whatever else you need, and make sure that you have everything there accessible, from paint, glue, sheen, whatever it is that you need in every species, to make sure that you can get that animal dressed and looking the best as it can before you go into the ring. And since Dale took one of my other top 10 off the list for one of his stupid ones, also, you need to check your equipment. Clippers, cords, blowers, fans, whatever. Check your equipment and make sure that it's all up and running. Don't wait to plug it in to when it's time to go clip the pig or dress the goat or, any of that stuff. Make sure everything's up and going before you get started.
I think sometimes we do get in a little bit of bind, and for the most part, I don't think we have a lot of issues with the equipment stuff, but always when it's show morning. You
have not gone to enough shows, sir.
When show morning, we seem to never have enough adhesive, enough whatever it may be. And we're trying to get to the supply trailer as early as we possibly can. Yeah, I would prefer to do it. If you didn't pack it along and you've got to get some, let's do it the day before the show if you're already in the grounds and have access to it, rather than show day. I get very stressed out about those kind of things.
Yeah, no,
Number 5. Offer, and I reworded this a little bit, Ryan. Ryan wanted to make sure that you're bringing multiple feeds from home to make sure we can keep that animal eating. I would like to bring the exact feed from home and a backup or 2 that I call high palatability feed that you think that they're going to eat if they won't eat anything else. And just like the hydrate, we have to have feed going into these animals for the most part to continue to make them look the part, to allow them to maximize hydration by having some sugars in the system that allow that absorption into the muscle cells of the water. All of those things tie together. So if we're not feeding that animal, we're probably going to be in a little bit of a bind. Do we need to pull feed back sometimes and adjust that fill and so forth? Absolutely. But I would strongly encourage, here's the thing. We're going to pick on Mr. Fugate since he's not here today. And talk a little bit about. Why do you
always pick on that?
Well, because if you would ever see him at a pig show, he has more supplements than he ever has feed, and
he'll put the supplements. That man is a nice person.
He is a great
person. And all y'all
person.
do is just talk. I do not
no,
like
he
it
just
when
is a perfect. He's the perfect example. He'll put all the supplements on and then sprinkle a little bit of feed, a little feed dust on top of the supplements. And if that's what you're feeding at home, great. My suggestion is, I would rather stay consistent with whatever we're feeding at home. Let's continue that through the show. We don't need a lot of magic dust, especially if they haven't had it before, hoping they're going to do something that remarkably changes that animal overnight. Those things don't happen. It doesn't work that way. If you're using supplements at home, and there's a lot of great supplements out there, continue with those, but don't all of a sudden bombard them with something new at the show because you think it's bigger, better, whatever it may be. Let's stay consistent in our feeding regime. Try to stay even consistent on the time of feeding, that whatever feed we're using at home, bring that with us. Bring something else. If you know that they're going to stress and maybe they won't want to eat, find something that they really want to eat better, and hopefully have exposed them to such at home so you feel comfortable they're going to. In the pig world, what we used to take with us to every pig show is their normal show feed, and I would take what I'd call gestation feed, which is primarily ground up corn. And you can throw cake mix, you can throw all kinds of things in there, but just plain old sow feed, sometimes those show barrels think this is pretty darn good. So have a backup in play.
Yeah, well, on my list, it was make sure that you have multiple types of feed. I didn't know that I had to say, bring the type of feed that your animal normally eats it, and take that to the show too. But yeah, My point on this is that like we've said several times throughout this podcast and before, when you take the animal out of the environment they've been in, they're going to be stressed. And one of the first things they do is go off feed and water. And you can put the feed exactly how you've been making it at home with whatever additives or whatever else that you put in there, out there for them, and they're not going to eat it. But a different type of feed, a lot of times they will, because they haven't had it before, or they haven't smelt it in a while, or haven't seen it in a while. They will nibble on that or eat on that. And they may not eat all of it, but if they're eating something, is better than nothing, was my point on this. And so I see this a lot when we go to Texas major shows, when you're there a week, 5 days. I don't know why, but like somewhere in the middle of the week, they don't want to eat the same stuff anymore. And so if you'll put something new in front of them, they will eat. And I've never figured it out. I don't understand why, because especially with our steers, they had gone to at least 20 jackpot shows a year, so they were used to this. But it just seems more times than not, especially at those week-long shows, somewhere in the middle, they'd stall out on eating, and if you put something different in front of them, they get back to it again.
Excellent.
This next one,
number 4.
This does not exist in my world, so I don't even know.
I knew it would not.
Know what this is about. I do not think this is this doesn't exist.
Look, I'm going to take number 4, and again, it does not need to be near your pen, somewhere more centralized where it's not bothering anything. But we talk about all the positive things that comes from showing livestock for our youth, and a lot of it's hanging out with their friends that are going to be very valued assets later in life, or contacts. And I think
you
back,
do that after the show is over, not during the show at the hotel in the pool. You don't do that at the show.
I think about like the Champions Barn, and I'll use Illinois State Fair for an example. You're there for a week, and those kids in the Champions Barn usually get together and play cards or hang out. And just so number 4, provide a social gathering area. And for the most part, I see this happening all the time, that they've got a place where kids can kind of come together, or they can come down to our area, or vice versa, whatever it may be, provided there's enough space to do so. Now at Texas Majors, there's no space for anything, basically.
We do not believe in social gathering areas.
No, most other places, there are places, and I think there's a lot of value with those kids hanging out at the show and getting to know each other a little bit better. Kids from
That's what
California
the hotel bar
and
is
Indiana,
for.
or wherever it's at. So it is something. And again, we don't normally have that, because I don't want it near the pens and keeping and bothering the livestock. Just like playing football in the alleyway or something, not before the show, not right up against those pens where animals are trying to sleep or rest or whatever. Take it just a little ways away, and then it's all great. I'm all positive with it. So that is something for social bonding. I'm not the most social person. So shockingly enough, Ryan is not maybe the most social person. So it probably isn't something we're going
say
to.
that is the hotel bar area. So like that's where the social gathering area is. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. But if Dale wants a social gathering area, or y'all want one, get with it. I wouldn't put it near my pens, because
No, that is a no.
Very loud, very noisy, small children running amok. It doesn't do well for the stock. But number 3. This is the one that I don't think anybody does, and I don't understand it. Of all the ones on here and that we're going to talk about, I don't understand why people don't do this. But anyway, every single one of us, in every group at least, somebody has a camera phone. Okay? Got a camera phone. When they post the classes, you go up there and make sure that everybody in your group, or all your animals are in their class, in the right one, they're the right breed, they're the right weight, they're the right birth date, whatever it is, however they break them, whatever. And then you take pictures of all the class breaks. And so so you can go through and say, you know what, before we show the dark crossbred, there's 177 entries before us, and there's 23 classes, and you can sit there and you can figure out, have a better idea of when you need to start dressing this one, or when you need to start getting ready on this one. And Oh, we've got 2 back-to-back, so we're going to have to start earlier here. Taking pictures of those class breaks, and first off, making sure that all your animals are on there and the information is correct, number one, is huge. Because you don't want to be at the ring like, they're not in the right class. This isn't right. You needed to take care of that before the show started. Number 2, you get invaluable information that will make your life so much easier that day at that show if you just know how to utilize it. But if you can't just keep going back and forth up there to where the classes are posted, and it'll take you a whopping 5 minutes to take however many pictures of it, and then it's right there at your fingertips all day long. I know it's a novel concept, but I promise you.
I know you're very proud of this one, but I don't know anybody that doesn't do that.
Oh, it does not happen, sir.
It has to happen.
I'm crazy.
It has
you
to
crazy.
Happen. Okay, number 3. This goes right along with it.
No, that was sir. That wasn't. You have
sorry,
nothing else. That's all. That's all you have.
Well,
to
no,
say.
that's easy. You take pictures of that. You're right. If it doesn't happen, you're crazy. So that, but and you talk about trying to figure out the timing, and I think you and I are both very paranoid
2.
about.
You can take number 2 now.
Number 2. So Ryan and I both. This leads into number 2, trying to predict when that animal's going to walk in the ring or when it needs to be called into the holding area. This is something that is very difficult for me. I want to be ready ahead of time, so there's no rush at the end, no shortcuts being taken. But at the same time, do we want to get that animal up and have him up for too long before we hit the ring? Absolutely not. So the timing on this is critical. And I tend to want to get him up earlier than I should, just for fear we're not going to be ready. But if we can do a better job of predicting when that animal's going to hit the ring, we can go up in the ring and in number 2, time the classes to better prepare when to get your stock up and get them ready. If we can watch that judge, maybe better do more than just the first class, but the first 2 or 3, if you're showing in later classes, get an idea. It's taken 15 minutes. It's taken 30 minutes a class, plus a division, whatever it is, gather all the resources you can to best predict when you're going to be called to that holding area. So we're not getting up too early, yet we're not cutting it too short, that we're having to shortcut things in terms of preparation to go into that ring. Does that qualify, Ryan?
No, I think this is one of the other things that people don't utilize enough. Absolutely, the only way to predict or have a guesstimation of when you're going to show is you have to sit up there and you have to time. And when I mean time, like, you need to, like, if there's 7 head in the first class, it took him this long to do 7 head, etc. You've got to know if there's 12 in the next one, all this other stuff. So you can figure out, okay, from this point on, he's got so many in this still, and it took him this long, so guesstimate. And then you also have to know how long it's going to take you and your crew to get your animal ready. Getting a calf ready compared to some other species probably going to take a little longer. But I think that this is something that really gets overlooked, and it's simple. You'll just go up there and you'll time it and do some basic addition with some common sense. You'll have a very good idea on when you need to start getting your animal ready and have it up there plenty of time so it's there when they're calling for it and you're not the person on the loudspeaker. They're going, Dale Hummel, bring your goat to the show ring. You're about to miss your class.
So Ryan, I'm just curious because I can confess on ours, we have some heated discussions or get a little cranky about when we should or should not get started. Do you ever have that issue when you were showing?
No, they listen to me.
They may not have agreed with it.
They listen to me.
Yeah, so
they still listen to me at this day. And I will say this, and I'm going to knock on my head because it's harder than wood. No child of mine, when they were under my supervision or me, ever has missed a class.
No, and it doesn't happen very often, but it makes me nervous.
What doesn't happen very often? People missing classes? You crazy.
Yeah, well, occasionally. I can't. I don't even want to think about that.
Sir, I'm talking about a show since 2022 started. I have not judged a show where at least one person did not miss their class.
Seriously?
Yes.
See, I'm not saying that I don't see it happening, but not to that extreme. But we get into a little bit of a bind if we're at a national show and we're helping other families with goats that they bought from us. So we'll have a list of 10 or 20 or however many goats that we're going to assist with. That gets much more complicated in trying to time everything correctly, especially if you get overloaded in a couple classes. But no, do the best you can, because in all honesty, you don't want to be late, but we don't want those animals up too long either. And a goat on the stand or having to keep a pig up or whatever it may be, steer in the fitting chute, the longer is not better by any means.
And the number one rule, and it is the most important.
I think people could guess what this one is.
No, I don't think they can, because they're not listening.
Well, no, those that have listened to us in the past, they could guess.
If they are listening in the past, then this would be changed
to us.
and
But
it is
you're
not
right.
Changed.
They do. Every time, every show you go to, it happens, doesn't it?
I literally,
lack thereof.
I try very hard to not get on a soapbox and go off at shows about things. Like I try very hard, and I lost it this last weekend.
I don't try as hard. I just do it.
I lost it this last weekend. But, and I mean this with all sincerity, please, 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 you and your child go up there and watch a class before they enter the show ring. And if the child won't go, you drag them by their hair, kicking and screaming, and you sit on top of them in the grandstands, and you hold their face, and you make them watch what's going on. Because I cannot tell you how frustrating it is as a judge when any kid halfway through the show, whatever, and you've done the same pattern and the same drill, the same routine the whole time, and they have no idea where they're going, where they're supposed to be, which way they're supposed to turn, which way they're supposed to stand, and it is messing all the other kids up in the line and all this. You have no idea how frustrating that is. And I talk about the fact, Dale has said this and I've said it, that from the moment you hit that gate, you want to try to portray only positive things and imagery about you and your animal, so the judge never gets a negative connotation about that. And I promise you, the worst thing that you can do is not know what the you're supposed to be doing or going in the show ring. You will not win. You will not. I'm just, you will not win. And it's over and over and over. It's every show, and we've been preaching this for over a year, and it's not getting any better, and I don't understand it. I do not understand what is so difficult about not wanting to go into the show ring looking clueless. Because that's what it is. And it takes all of 5 minutes. Everybody's got 5 minutes at a show. Now, I'm going to say, because somebody's going to get on, what if you're the first one in the class? Or what if you're the first? I get that. People are understanding, forgiving. I am that person. I was no longer forgiving after we went through a bull show, a Pee-wee showmanship, and an entire 5 heats of junior showmanship. I'm no longer forgiving.
Are you done yet?
Maybe.
What I have a hard time with is there's so much time.
People
at
looking
home.
clueless.
Yeah, the think about the time you put on home, the time to get to the show, the time at the show. We're doing all of these things, assumably trying to succeed, unless it's all about that social gathering area I talked about, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But assumably we're trying to do better and we're trying to succeed. That is something that does not take that much time and is going to make a pretty darn big difference when you hit that ring. It just seems very, very simple to me. And some of the advanced senior showmen, if they've been to that show before, they're not as worried about doing it. They can kind of follow the lead, but every judge may do something a little bit different. So no matter how much you've shown, it's probably a good idea to get up there and watch a class or two and just make sure you understand the mechanics of the ring. Use it to your advantage. Look where some of those low spots are. Look for the high spots. Figure out where you need to be, where you think you need to come in first or last. There's so many things that you can do to make yourself better. Just take the time, the little bit of time it takes to do it.
I cannot stress this enough. And
it's not going to, Ryan, you're going to judge something 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, whenever. It's going to be the same story.
No, I'm going to judge this weekend. And this weekend is probably going to be the same story. But I'm just saying, like, I get it. But, like, I do not understand when this practice quit and why it is so hard to understand the benefits in this. Like, you do not want to be the one person in the class that does not know what's going on.
If your child doesn't want to go up there, drag them by their ears up to the ring.
It's like I said, you have put in all this time and effort and energy at home. Once you got to the show, all this stuff. In 5 minutes, you can save the whole ship from sinking like the Titanic. Because you went up there and you showed your kid. You come in here, you walk in here, you face this way, they go around, and you have to watch the whole class, people, because you need to know if the judge is pulling first to last, last to first, where they're pulling them into position, all this other stuff. And I promise you, you do not want to be that child that does not know where they're going, where they're supposed to line up, all this stuff, because it is the most negative connotation in a judge's head. And anybody that tells you differently is lying to you.
Agreed.
They are lying.
Agreed completely. That was a good top 10, Ryan, even though it's modified a little bit.
Yeah, modified now. There's one other thing that it's not on the top 10. It wasn't on the top 10 list that I sent Dale either, but I'm going to add it. And this is for everybody, but I cannot also stress enough. If you're sitting there around ringside and you're watching, and that class is over and the judge asks for y'all to clap for those kids, put your damn hands together and clap for those kids.
Doesn't always work.
No, it never works. Like, I'm almost to the point that I'm going to give up on asking for people to clap. And I do it every class. And I am literally that upset because you just keep asking and they don't. And nothing changes. And, like, I'll even make fun of them, like, y'all asleep? Are you too cold? Is it too hot? You know, whatever. And you might get a little response then. But I don't understand why you can't just clap for the kids. Like, show them some encouragement. Show them some love. And I'll tell you something else. Dale probably, I don't know if Dale agrees with this or not, but if I pull you first and I hear a bunch of people clapping like, hey, somebody likes that kid. Somebody likes that I used that kid. That's cool. So
subconsciously, it's playing games with you. You're not saying you're going to use them because of the applause. But
no, I'm just saying if they get pulled first and they clapped, yeah, I think that's cool. I've judged county fairs where people clapped when they got pulled last, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever because they cheered for every single kid. I will never. It was insane. Every kid got huge applause, no matter where they got pulled in. I wanted to bring that in. To be fair, there are a few shows that they are phenomenal about it. There are, but I'm saying it needs. I don't think that I would ever expect for every show to be like those that we're talking about. But you can clap if you're standing there watching, whether your kid is in there or not. The judge asks you to clap, you can clap. If you win that class and you're excited, clap for that child. I promise you, it does nothing but make a positive connotation on the judge because they're like, hey, somebody thinks I'm smart. And anybody that doesn't say that, they're lying. They're lying again. I just tell the truth. But
there's no negative to this whatsoever. It's all positive. If you clap, it's good.
And I am going to say, like I put on my Facebook, some of you don't clap when other people's win, and it will never be your turn. And that is why it is called karma. So put your hands together and clap for these children.
Amen. Mm-hmm. You got it.
Thank you.
Good top 10 plus one or two. We'll call it that.
Uh-huh.
And it is the time.
Yeah, before I do that, I have another BTRJOA sponsor, one that's close to my heart. Ellis Beefmasters is a national award sponsor. I want to thank Sherry and Laddie and Callie for their belief in the BTRJOA. Callie's been integral in this from the very beginning, and they showed their love and support for kids and for me, maybe for you, Dale, I don't know. But anyway, and they became a national award sponsor. Ellis Beefmasters is a family-owned and operated ranch in LaWard, Texas that has an unprecedented number of championships to its credit. Everyone in the Ellis family, including me, would be happy to help you find your next Beefmaster champion, and they have produced outstanding Beefmaster cattle that have quality in and out of the show ring since they started in this breed. So thank you to the Ellis family. I love you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. No, great family. Much, much appreciated. I did print the question and answers off before we started, Ryan. This is a new concept.
Lovely.
And we have some extras. I had to cross a couple out here. I just printed off the first 3 or 4, and we're good. We've got it narrowed down to 3. I know you would not allow 4, so we've got it narrowed down. The first one comes from Jacob. Question for you all. Guess where Jacob's from?
Texas?
South. We don't know if Texas, but south.
South.
Say you had a barn and the acreage to do it, and you had a $20,000 budget, and were wanting to start a show goat herd. How would you all go about doing it? Maybe even a $10,000 budget, or even a small cattle herd. Wow. Good luck with that.
Okay, Mr. Goat Guru.
No, there's talking about cattle in here a little bit too. Talking about cattle a little bit too.
I would say that if you wanted to start a herd with $10,000 or $20,000, probably going to be difficult.
I would take it another direction, and I think that whether you're at 10 or 20,000, I would suggest, assuming that you can assess quality and understand the direction that you want to go, and you have that direction and your goals in mind, I would buy fewer and try to buy better. You're talking about not starting with very many, but that's okay, especially if this is obviously something that you want to do and that you're passionate about. But I think it is much more enjoyable to raise a few good ones than more that are just average.
My suggestion on the cattle end, I think the same way would go for goats or any species. If you've got a limited budget and you want to do this, my suggestion would be to start with 1 or 2 really, really, really good ones and use embryo transfer and things like that, because that is much cheaper than buying.
Build the foundation off of those best ones you can get a hold of.
Yeah,
that's the best way we can guide you, Jacob. The fewer, probably the better, especially if you can get a hold of those, that you spend what you have on the best that you can afford, rather than buying multiple.
Yeah, or you can buy embryos and put them in and do that. But I just think
on the cattle side, that might not be a bad way to go. You're rolling the dice a little bit on getting them to take, but it's not going to be easy. It's never, even on a large budget, it's just not. There's nothing easy about it. But irregardless of the budget, spend a little more money on quality to start with, because it's pretty hard to breed average to average and ever get a good one. It just doesn't work that way. I wish it did. It'd make it a whole lot easier, but it just doesn't.
Correct.
Eric sends us a question. Our kids are very successful locally and competitive nationally. Therefore, they get asked a lot by their friends, especially on a local level, to show for them. How do you guys handle this? We've had situations where my kids are put on the class winner and the actual owner goes out into the grand drive with a second place animal.
I think this is the best question that has ever been asked. Who was this person again?
This was Eric.
Eric, I think you're wise gentleman. I think this is the best question that has ever been submitted, and I will tell you how to solve this. You don't let it happen. You do not. You do not.
You're gonna have them tell their best friend, "No, I'm not going to show for you."
If you showed for me, I promise you knew the answer. You will not go out there on any animal other than your own. Period. Because of just what he is saying. Because people.
What about when your children have more than one in the drive? What happens?
Well, then we ask people for help.
And expect to get it.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to check on that.
That's why we have a show team. Okay. That's why we had several people. If you didn't make it, get on this one. Okay. But yeah, no, I'm serious. And y'all can say I'm horrible and hateful and stingy and whatever, and that's true. But just what this gentleman said, people are like, "Hey, will you show for us?" And then they give them the better animal because they think, well, that's the better showman, or the judge might recognize them, or all this other stuff. And so then you go out there and you're putting your kid out there on one that's not yours. And you may be, what if it's one of those judges that, we have to spread the wealth. And so you just won a class for this person. And then The next kicker is when they come back in the breed champion drive, the other kid's going to be on it, and you're going to that judge is going to be like, well, what happened to that kid? Oh, well, you didn't show the good one. Well, why didn't you show? All of these little things are going to run through the judge's mind, and then your kid is turtled up in it because, so they tried to sucker me and put the good showman on the. This is a terrible idea. I'm telling you, it is a terrible idea. And there is a real, very nice, simple way to say no. And just say, make whoever is in charge the bitch or the bastard. That was always me. And I took it and just say, when people come up, Ryan does not want us to show for anybody else. We have all of ours to show, and you can only go out there so many times before all this other stuff, and he just won't allow us to do it. And I know that's a terrible thing to say, but I'm telling you, I cannot see any good coming from this for your own kid's personal perspective. Because I think you're going to get caught in a situation where the judge thinks you were trying to sucker them, or you used up some of your luck or whatever, spread the wealth, whatever out there. And then and here's the other thing. And again, people are not going to like that I'm speaking the truth. What if it's not a good animal and you have to send your kid out there on it and the judge sees you on a not good animal?
You think that judge is going to think, well, this one's not showing that good animal, and the next time you come in, you're going to assume maybe they're not good again?
I'm telling you, just like I said earlier, everything that you do from the time you hit the gate needs to portray positive imagery about your kid and your animal. And being a good Samaritan and going out there and showing a bad animal is not going to portray a positive imagery.
Would you like my input on that one?
No, because I got one more thing and then I'm going to be done. And then I'll let you have your input. Other thing on this is, your kid has never shown this animal before. What if it acts like a fool? Again, not positive imagery. Okay, send all the hate mail my way. I don't care. That's my opinion. You'll ask for my opinion. Eric, I would not let you do it. I think this is a very good question.
I am just happy that you pointed out all the issues with it, and I don't have to. It works out perfect.
Those are the issues, and that is the truth.
Well done. It is. There's a lot of truth to that. The only issue that I see coming about, especially on the local level, is that those families or children that maybe only show at their county fair, they're not reading into it quite as deep as you have. And when you tell them, no, I'm not going to, there's going to be friendships that are strained.
That's why you have somebody as the designated bitch. That is me.
Well, that's going to have to be at a local show. It's probably that parent or something, which isn't going to help their relationship with the other. There's at a local level, this is a problem, period. I am with you, Ryan, especially at a national show or a state fair, but at the local level, it's a challenge.
If you are too soft-hearted to say no, I'm going to give you a tip, okay? If you or your kid are too soft-hearted and you say, okay, we're going to go show this or whatever. If the judge asks you a question, whether it is weight, whether it is birthday, whether it is whatever, say, sir, I am helping out a friend of mine. This is not my animal. I'm not sure on it, but I think it's this. And you need to know that anyway, but you put in there that this isn't your animal. You're helping somebody out. And that is the only way that you can get out of that situation in a positive light with the judge. If something goes wrong or something's whatever, that way you have let that guy know or that gal know, hey, this isn't mine. I'm just helping out a friend in need.
Agreed with that one completely. I know that we're in a situation a lot of times that we're looking for a showman. And I'm telling you, if somebody wouldn't be willing to come out there and help out, it's a problem. So I agree with all the subconscious, all the impressions, everything that you're saying, but it's a difficult situation at the local level. After that, not as difficult.
I'm just saying.
I'm glad you finally liked a question and answer. Maybe we'll start putting 4 questions in every episode.
No, I think that's the best question that's ever been asked.
The next question comes from Jessica,
we're in
Jessica
on that
Rabbit.
One.
Not Jessica Rabbit. No.
We're in on that one.
No, we've got Jessica would like her question answered. It may be better than the one before. You never know. My question is more of a request. See, it's a request, not even a question. Like many parents out there, the worst part of a show day is when all the hard work gets met with a calf or a pig that just didn't act the way they were supposed to. If my child was coming out of the ring and you were in their crew, what would your lift your chin up talk be? I think this could be great for parents to have on hand. Ryan and Dale telling you it's okay, kid. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm dying here. Okay, so again, brutal honesty. If it is the calf or the pig or sheep or goat's complete fault, and no fault of the exhibitor, which is a very, very unlikely circumstance, because
I think in some of the pig shows there's some
it can happen, but I mean, like most times I say this all the time. This is like a dance team and your partners, and so like maybe your dance partner didn't show up, then whatever, but still you're still part of the team. If it is just an unfortunate situation where the kid had no control, whatever, and it was a wreck, and there has been those situations, and I don't remember exactly what I said, because normally my kids had more to show, like they didn't have just one, so I'm like, hey, brush it off, we got another one, we'll go back in there and you can show that person what you're made of, stuff like that. If that's the only one to show, I think the thing is you go back to the box, you go back whatever, and you talk it out. Like you say, look, this is what happened, this wasn't your fault, this is how whatever went down. There's no reason to be embarrassed, there's no reason to be upset, there's another show next weekend, maybe one tomorrow, that we can try again. I think that the more plausible or realistic situation is animal didn't act right, exhibitor probably didn't handle it the way that could have or should have, and I think that's a learning lesson. And I have done that a lot, where they come out, it was bad, and you're like, okay, so this happened, and this is how you reacted, and it got worse. And you explain why it got worse. So the next time when that situation comes up, if it's with that same animal or a different one, they will know what they need to do. The worst thing you can do is just say, well, you sucked, and move on to the next one. I mean, yeah, you got to offer encouragement, but depending on the situation, if there is a lesson to be learned from it, that is more important than going, oh, keep your chin up, it's okay, sweetheart. No, learn the lesson. So the next time we have a better chance of not repeating what has happened. If it is completely the animal's fault, tell them, look, you did all you could, still proud to know you, we got another one to go, or we got another show tomorrow.
And Jessica, I hate to say this, but I actually agree with Ryan on this one, and I'm going to go a little bit more forgiving, because I've seen hogs that have shown a dozen times perfectly, and all of a sudden they get in a ring and it's hot, or they know where that out gate is and they're determined they're going to get out, and they just, I'm not saying that they can't get them out in the ring and get them shown, but not as well as what they would like to. I can think of goats that would not lead. Maybe they went to 4 shows and were perfect, and all of a sudden that thing just decided to become stubborn, and I'm not going to lead today, or I'm first to go in the ring and I don't have one to follow, or a calf that gets spooked for whatever reason. There's a lot of things that can happen, but I'm definitely with Ryan. Let's assess what the problem is and explain it as best we can, and learn from that experience to try to do everything in our power to avoid it from happening again. And I think it's a learning lesson. Until they're put into some of those situations, that's almost the only way they can learn. Usually at a younger age, when they get into those situations, we need to build from it. And if we can, it's less likely to happen again. So Jessica, I think I'm on board with where Ryan's at that. And I know what you're feeling like. And I know sometimes it is completely out of that child's control, especially if they're just getting started in a species. No matter how much they try and want to do, there's always going to be some things that go wrong. And on occasion, there are animals that are just going to go a different direction than maybe you anticipated. but let's work just a little bit harder and try to figure out what can we do to minimize that from happening, I guess. So all good, Ryan. I think it's been a good episode, a good top 10 read backwards, forwards, upside down, whatever way we need to read those. But I appreciate you finding a question and answer that you actually like this week. Eric, thank you for submitting that one.
Wise man there.
Until next week, in the crazy, crazy ass world, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?